Today we're with Susan Howell, author of Oil Rush, the International Tug of War. The book is debuting at the show, and it was released in April, just recently, right, Susan?
That's correct.
It's already been getting some good buzz, and we're excited to go into some detail about the novel. Susan is joining us from Texas and is enjoying her stay in New York, and we're going to dive right into this novel, if it's okay with you, Susan.
Well, the novel is about it's a romantic spy intrigue, and it has a lot of interesting twists and turns to the plot. It's about three superpowers vying for control of the flow of oil in the Middle East. And it also centers around a young girl that has to grow from an innocent young girl to a very strong professional businesswoman. And so I take you along this wonderful journey, and there's a lot of, she has to deal with a vindictive sister. She also has a two-timing boyfriend until she really finds what love is all about.
So it's a mix of genres. It's a romantic thriller, and there's several characters throughout the book. I know you mentioned the main goes through some growth with maturity.
Right.
Are there other characters in the book that make an impact on her life?
A very large impact on her life, and it is a book about life. Mm-hmm. It is a book about having to make changes, and all of these characters are faced with more or less the same situation, the same circumstances, and it ends up being how they choose to travel down that road of life. And Melanie kind of takes a lot of different twists and turns through it.
Now, I don't want to give too much information away, but there's a surprise ending. Can you go in a little bit of detail about what makes the ending such a surprise?
Well, you got to read the book.
Gotta read the book.
Sorry.
Can't pry too much.
Because I don't want to give away the surprise. I mean,
Sure.
it's a fun book. It was a great deal. Most of the people that have read it said, I never saw that coming. So I felt good that they weren't expecting what they got. So
No information about the ending, so I'll pick up the book and
Absolutely.
we will find out.
Absolutely.
Now, you've already talked a little bit about Melanie Stewart. What makes this character so intriguing, and what did you like most about creating this character?
What I really enjoyed doing was taking her. I grew up in a very privileged environment. My father made testing equipment for jet aircraft, and if you've ever flown on a jet plane, the only reason you got there safely without it blowing up was my father's invention.
Kind of important job, right?
Yes, he invented the EGT gauge on the aircraft,
Oh, wow.
and so it keeps the engines from blowing up.
Oh.
And because of that, it took me on he was very generous with his family, and he said, hey kids, come on and go with me. So I saw a different kind of life. I saw history in the making a lot of times. I mean, he would say, come on, we'll go have lunch with the Shah of Iran, things of that sort. So I saw a different side of life, and having gone to school in Switzerland, which I put my protagonist in, I took it and then had to make her live a different kind of life. And so it's a fun book. It really is.
It sounds like it. So it sounds like what inspired the plot and storyline was a lot of your upbringing. You mentioned your father. Was there any more history that you've been through, anything that you've seen that really inspired some of the creation of the characters besides Melanie Stewart in the novel?
Well, I learned as I began to write this book, my father had passed away, and my mother was coming down with Alzheimer's. So what do you do with an Alzheimer's patient? While they're sleeping, you write, or I did. And it was quite a challenge for me to have to deal with that. And after my father passed, we sold our family estate, which was an incredible piece of property. and it was really sad. We had lived there for 47 years. I had raised my children there. It was really quite wrenching. So I left our family home on the very last day. I went over and spent the last day there, handed the keys over to the new owners, and then went back to my mother's new home where I was taking care of her. And I climbed over boxes, sat down, and wrote about what it was like to leave this home. And a man who was a writer-producer in Hollywood was a friend of mine, and he had lived on the property for 2.5 years, and so I sent him the story and said, here's what it was like to leave the big house. And he said, oh, Susie, keep writing, this is fabulous. And I said, well, what am I going to write about? And he said, oh my gosh, you have seen so much of history and so much of life. And so then I got a retired CIA agent, and he and I worked together, and he told me all kinds of things about CIA.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting storyline, so I'm
Yeah.
definitely picking up the book now. Sold me on that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about your history, we've talked about the novel. Can I ask a little bit about the life of being an author? I mean, what's that like? How long does it take to put this book together based on
Well,
your
it
experience?
took me a while. I mean, Alzheimer's is not a very fast progression disease, so I'd pick it up, write it. If I'd get angry, I just killed somebody off if I didn't want to. It was just so much fun, and it was really a neat, fun process. It took me about 5 years, and then after my mother passed, I really put my final touches on it, and here we are today.
So do you like quiet time to write? Are you looking for activity to kind of inspire you? I mean, what's the setting when you begin writing? And are there times when you just kind of flow, or are there times when you have to sit down and think about it for a few days?
Well, I use a mirror. My daughter came
Mirror,
in.
okay.
Yeah, I used to write. My think tank was the shower.
Okay.
Cleanest author in the world. Anyway, my daughter gave me a pen, and because I had been putting sticky notes around my shower as I would think of the plot line, and she said, "Here, Mother," and she gave me a dry eraser pen, and I started writing the plot line up on the mirror. And so I literally, if I got stuck, I'd go and sit in front of the mirror. And I'd work on the plot line there.
How much time did it take to build up the sticky notes around the mirror?
Well, I quit using the sticky notes, but however, a friend of mine went in to use the bathroom, and I had one little area where I could put on my makeup.
Get a little sneak peek of the novel, right?
Yeah, and he sat there and he drew a cartoon character on it. So I was.
And that's not the front cover, right? The
No,
cartoon
no, no,
character.
no.
Okay.
I was kind of like, okay, I remember David when he comes in. Every time.
That is definitely very interesting.
Yeah.
Are there other sequels in the works, or is there a next project? We get a sneak peek
Oh,
at that.
yeah. Well, I have her where she's working through and has become a businesswoman, and I used to fly being a pilot, and Melanie was kind of a semi-pilot, so I'm gonna kind of make her fly away
Okay.
on the
You'll
next
fly
one.
away.
Yeah, it'll be a fun time. It really is.
Great. Well, we look forward to it. A few different editions of this book. Do you want to go into detail on that?
Absolutely. I have a leather-bound edition that's limited. There's only 200. I sign them, I date them, and I also have a limited a number on them. Then we have the hardback edition, and then we've just released the softback.
Just released. And where can we find this book?
You can find it on everything electronic, such as Amazon, iPhone, Apple iPhone, and BookBaby, and all of the digital genres. And then I love to go to book signings. This is a good part of being the author. I love meeting new people. I love hearing their stories as well, and it's a wonderful opportunity. So, and I love to support other giving back to the community. So um, I'll go to book signings, helping people to raise funds, that type of thing, and they can get the books through me or go to my website, susanhowell.com.
Great. And obviously BEA is a great event to put your book out
Absolutely.
there. Are there any other events that your customers can find you at, or any speaking opportunities that we could see you at in the near future?
You can go to my website, and we have a calendar of events, and if you would like for me to come, you are more than welcome to contact us through the website.
Contact through the website, and that is www.susanhowell.com. www.susanhowell.com.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, Susan, thank you very much for joining us today. Again, Oil Rush International Tug of War. Find it on Amazon. Go to
Right.
www.susanhowell.com. And we thank you for coming today, Susan.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. It's a wonderful time, and I hope everybody enjoys the book as much as I enjoyed writing it.
I'm sure they will, and enjoy your stay in New York City.
Thank you.